thoracic spine mobility, which also has to, in this integrated approach, has to assume that we're contributing a lot from the hips as well. But a way for us to objectively gather some information pertaining to thoracic spine mobility and progress. So I'm going to show you some great little tools that we'll use. So I use a dowel, and I'll use the reference points such as shoulder or head high or overhead high in relation to the individual. And if I need to, I'll get out a measuring tape and see how high up it actually is, and maybe I'll just put a sticker where they touch and then I'll measure it, which is a lot of times easier. And then I'll also use a little measuring tape, and I'll show you what that does for us in a second. So my reference points, I'm going to take you through some type 1 and some type 2 measurements. Type 1 in sync and out of sync. So type 1 meaning rotation and side bend in opposite directions. So what I'll do, I will position an individual and be specific in terms of like a 90-degree or a 45-degree vector. And so what I'll do then, I'll use the dowel as a reference point. It's a starting point. So if I'm going to measure type 1 in sync mobility, so right type 1 in sync mobility here, what I have done is I've rotated and preset right with my left hand. The dowel is in place. My right hand then, I'm going to instruct the individual, okay, I want you to touch head high for me. So go ahead and touch head high for me. As I'm preset with that rotation, if you see them bail on out of it, back them up and off until they can hold that position, and then initiate and go with their side bend. So what I'll do now is I'll take where the base of the dowel is, and in centimeters, I'll come on down, and at the base of the dowel, I lay my measuring tape, and I take it right to the wall. Okay, that's my type 1. In terms of a quantitative figure, that's my type 1 motion right there. If I wanted to bring a little more extension into the mix, I would still say overhead at head high, but as they rotate, we're going to have the tweak, so they're not only reaching overhead to the left, but reaching overhead and behind them. And so I'm going to take that point that they reached overhead and behind them with a sticker or note it and say, okay, I want you to hold on to your dowel, and then I will take, when the other individuals involved, it's a little easier, but we're basically taking that tape measure and we're going on that angle right there, which is usually a 135 degree angle right on back, and I'm going to take that measurement right on over to the wall. If I want to measure my type 1 out of sync for right rotation, I'll say right type 1 out of sync, and my reference point is going to be, okay, head high, preset with the rotation and hold it, and then go with the side bend overhead and to the left right here for me. And so I'll again take my tape measure, hold it right there. I'll go from the dowel on in, and I will touch the wall. So with the other end, which gives me some quantifiable data. And then if I wanted to go and add a little extension to it, I'd preset with the rotation. I wouldn't just go overhead and to the left, but overhead and behind me at head high. And I'd measure up that angle in which I touched right there, right on down. So that's our type 1 in sync and out of sync. If I'm going type 2 in sync and out of sync, I like to go with my overhead drivers here. And there's ways that we can use drivers down low. I'm just going to show you overhead for right now. But if I wanted to go, let's say like a type 2 in sync, my reference points now are going to be the angulation of my front big toe in comparison to my dowel right here, because my hand is reaching overhead along the vector and the line of the dowel. So if I said, hey, I want to measure left, type 2 in sync motion and give myself something to compare it to down the road, I'm going to preset with some rotation. So we have rotation and side bend in the same direction. So I'm going to preset with some rotation, and I've got an overhead reach. So I've got left rotation, overhead reach at kind of head high. I will take, so pretend with me a second, since I don't have another pair of hands. I'm taking my big toe, I'm just going to step on that for the sake of right now, and I'm going to take that all the way to the wall because I touched the wall with this hand. I'm going to get some quantifiable data right there. And if I wanted to add some extension into it, I'm just going overhead to the left, but overhead and behind me a little bit. Might have to reposition. If I wanted to, again, the big toe is the reference point. If I wanted some type 2 out of sync, left foot is forward. So left type 2 out of sync. My dowel is still kind of a very similar kind of setup in that it's close to the wall. I'm preset with my left rotation. And what I'm going to do now is preset with the left rotation, and then the right arm is going to reach overhead right at that dowel. And so my dowel is right there. I'm going to take measuring tape and drop it right where my big toe was. Take that sticker that's on the wall, draw it right to the wall and right on down. I've got my type 2 in sync and out of sync, some great comparative data that I can use not only throughout the treatment session, but kind of moving forward as well. It validates what we're doing and how we're doing it. It validates our strategies and our techniques and gives us information to, hey, are you being consistent with the homework that you're supposed to be doing with your performance enhancement program at home, or are you not? And what adjustments do we need to be able to make? So great information right there in terms of what you can simply do at home if you have $1.50 to get yourself a little tape measure and to be able to test and to retest yourself. Time, distance, and effort.